The Boston Celtics are an S tier team. As much as I hate them.
Yeah, same. But I'm here wearing a Lakers shirt. You're wearing a Raptors shirt. But I mean, what the most dominant season title run since what the Warriors with Durant, right?
Yeah,
Like by
essentially.
far, like there's no debate about it. The well-earned S tier team. Like I can't say anything else.
This is our season-ending NBA tier list. We will rank teams based on their performance this past season. Our criteria includes regular season performance, postseason performance, and how each team performed compared to our preseason expectations. For example, the Houston Rockets are in the B tier and surprised us because they were fighting for a play-in spot when we thought they would be close to last place.
The Dallas Mavericks, the NBA finalists, will be an S tier team. Simple because they were in the finals. They weren't expected to be a finalist as well, especially with how the regular season was going, but picked up a lot. Picked up the role players they needed in the trade deadline, and they went on a pretty good streak, right? Luka was an NBA MVP finalist. And I think it's just fair to put them an S tier team. Unfortunately, not a what's the word, competitive title, final. And I think other than that, S tier, they beat some good teams.
Realistically, the Celtics should have their own tier, but the Dallas Mavericks deserve an S tier as much as any other team in the NBA does. A team that does not deserve S tier is the Golden State Warriors because they are average, and that is C. They barely made the play-in, right? They were competing with the Rockets.
They ended up making a 5-point game.
They handled it like the Vegas Golden Knights did. They handled it in the last month, like not in the last week, essentially. They got destroyed by the Kings. And that is a lot to do with Klay Thompson being 0 for 10. But the Warriors were not a team that's expected to be in the A or B tier team, a team that's expected to be in the playoffs. Really disappointed this year. And I think C is fair because they weren't necessarily out of it, but they got destroyed when they were in.
Yeah, B tier team, like I guess for our logic, is if you make the playoffs or you had some
surprise
expectations like the Rockets were, because we thought they were gonna be like dead last or something. That's how you'll get a B tier team for that. Because the Warriors missed out in the play-in, they're a C tier team.
They did not. They made the play-in.
They made the play-in but missed the playoffs from the play-in. They get a C tier team for that. Denver Nuggets, A tier. Still had a good title. They did not obviously defend their title, but good regular season. Disappointing conference semifinal though. Should not have been down 2-0 to that Timberwolves team. Then they came back and should have closed it out, and then they blew Game 7 at home as well. But overall, MVP year once again for Nikola Jokic. I would still say A. It's tough to defend titles these last couple of years.
They made it to the second round. They kind of did their job. They beat the Lakers in the first round. So I'd say A is fair as well. My Raptors, they suck, so they're in D. Reason being, they made good trades in terms of picking a direction. Obviously, the returns probably weren't necessarily great, especially the Siakam one. But now you got quickly a piece to build around. You already have Scotty Barnes. RJ Barrett has actually fit in pretty nicely. He actually played really well. But overall, we still suck. So we are a D tier team.
Lakers. So my Lakers are a B tier team because, like I said, they were at least a playoff team. Obviously no one's gonna care at the end of the day. It was 4-1, but had leads in almost pretty much all the games against the Nuggets, but couldn't close it out. Obviously they ended up finding their coach. They bring in JJ Redick. Again, that's more of a future talk thing. But in terms of this year, expectations are always going to be high with the Lakers when it comes with the LeBron and Anthony Davis. But they still got to the playoffs, and should have been better. But B tier is going to be fair because of that.
Yeah, B tier is fair. They made the playoffs. And I know it didn't look like they gave the Nuggets a run of their money, but they kind of did.
They did.
But overall, B tier made the playoffs is fair. The Pistons lost 28 games in a row and are in the F tier. The Pelicans made the playoffs with Zion getting hurt and are in the B tier. And they improved their roster by adding DeJounte Murray. The Nets are just average, and that's why they're in the C tier. But they will be much worse now after trading Mikal Bridges. But that is a good thing because now they could finally embrace the rebuild. The Hawks are in the C tier and were disappointing, losing to the Bulls in the play-in.
The Indiana Pacers, I'm giving them S. And listen, obviously, again, this is based on our preseason expectations with the predictions we made. And they matched the regular season by being the top 6 seed, finishing 6th. But they weren't expected to go to the conference finals. And even in the conference finals, Yes, the Celtics would have handled business overall, but they were up on some of the games. They gave them
3 of the 4.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I'm not saying they would have won that series, but I'm saying they still made it a little bit tough on them. Yes, it was still a sweep. I get that, but they did beat the Knicks. I understand the Knicks they were hobbled. They were not healthy, but still handled business. You made that big Pascal Siakam trade in the middle of the year that helped you elevate a little bit. And like no one first round exit, which was kind of expected with the Bucks, but yes, Giannis did get hurt, but we still had Damian Lillard to handle business there in a championship roster.
Who got hurt?
Yeah, but overall, I think it's S. Because,
I know the Pacers were like one of the big jump teams this year. Again, conference finals, we're looking at results as well. The Pacers got there. No matter how they get there, you still got to get the job done. They got the job done. And overall, the Pacers went from a team that didn't make the play-in all the way to a conference final. That's a S-tier jump right there. The Timberwolves are a A-tier team, conference finalist. Anthony Edwards took a step this year. The big man combo worked for the regular season. And overall, a team that, again, surprised me a little bit because I didn't expect them to be anywhere top 3 in the Western Conference, especially how loaded the Western Conference is. But they proved me wrong, and they are a solid team mixed with veterans and some young players as well.
And they beat the Nuggets, the defending champions.
And
they
beat the Nuggets.
Did. OKC Thunder for me are S tier team. Simple, right? Exactly what the Pacers did. Yes, they did not make the conference finals, but they only lost to the eventual Western Conference champion. They won a playoff series, which many people maybe did not expect. Yes, they got lucky that Zion was unhealthy, but at the end of the day, the Pelicans were still somewhat playoff. They had playoff experience, right? Some of them, right? But at the end of the day, you had an MVP finalist in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Team took a massive jump, topped the conference as well. So yeah, S tier team by far, and only good things to come for the future for them.
Milwaukee Bucks are a B tier team. The reason why they are B, because Giannis did get injured in the playoffs. They could have been arguably a C tier team if they got eliminated with Giannis, but they avoided that. I think they kind of did figure out some stuff under Doc Rivers, and they were heading into the playoffs with some sort of, chemistry and just good structure. I believe if Giannis was there, the Bucks would have cupped. I do believe the Bucks would have been the conference finals versus the Celtics if Giannis was healthy. So for that reason, I give them B. They were still a playoff team, and we should see a more ferocious Bucks team next year, hopefully, as well. The Cavs are in the B tier. They won a playoff round but ran into the Celtics in the second round. They had a great season and are happier now that Donovan Mitchell is staying. The Wizards joined the Pistons in the F tier, and there's nothing much to say here. The Heat are in the B tier. They made the playoffs but got bounced by the Celtics while Jimmy Butler was injured.
The LA Clippers, I'm giving them B. Again, one of the factors is they made the playoffs. They were still the 5th seed or 4th. I forget what they were. 4th seed, 5th seed. They were in that matchup with the Dallas Mavericks.
It was 4 seed.
4 seed, right? So they were still comfortably in a playoff spot at the end of the day. Lost to the Dallas Mavericks. Yes, Kawhi Leonard once again was injured for this playoff run. But at the end of the day, you made the playoffs. Yes, your expectations are much higher, especially when you had with the other teams that are on this list. But playoff, at the end of the day, good regular season.
Good regular season, especially after the Harden trade. Yeah. It started off slow, but they went on a nice little run. That kind of believed us that these guys are the team to beat this year. But then, as usual, they get injured. So, if you were to classify the Kawhi PG era as an F, that's fair. But if you were to classify as the season as an F, that is not fair, and I think a B tier is a perfect spot for the Clippers. I got the Spurs, and there are F. I think they went on a 18-game losing streak.
Somewhere along there.
Something absolutely horrific, but one person that is not horrific was Victor Wembanyama. Lived up to his hype, and won Rookie of the Year, and is looking like he is going to the Spurs are going to build something around him. And this is a squad that could be ferocious in a couple years.
So this one's up for a little bit of a debate, I would say. The Orlando Magic, I'm putting them in S. And yes, it was between S or A. At the end of the day, this team, I didn't expect them to take this big of a jump this season. I thought they were going to take a small jump like the Thunder and the Pacers did last season, going into this year. right? These guys just skipped that step and ended up being a playoff team straight up. I thought they were gonna miss the playoffs maybe, but not badly, right? But they ended up skipping the play-in altogether, and they were flirting with the second seed for a little bit. Ended up becoming a top 5 seed. Lost in 7 in the first round, so maybe that's where you might consider A. But Paolo Banchero, All-Star, took a massive jump this year as well. They have some solid pieces around him. Jalen Suggs was I don't know if did he get all defensive team?
I'm not sure if he got
He was in consideration, that's for
but
sure.
he was an all defensive player, that's for sure.
Yeah, and on top of that, like you're gonna be looking to add some like pieces like Paul George in the offseason and stuff to help you. But as this current season went, I think S is fair.
Initially, I thought A, but then I realized like when I'm looking at my preseason ranking, I'm pretty sure I had them missing the play-in.
Yeah.
So that just speaks for itself that they are an S tier team. And then we're looking at a squad that forced 7 games when they were down 2-0 against a team that was supposed to win the series all along. They were never supposed to win the series against the Cavaliers. Did they match up well against them? Yes. That's why they went to 7. But let's be honest, the Cavs were the better team and were supposed to win that series, and we're the team that won essentially. But yeah, a lot to look forward in Orlando right now because Paolo Banchero was looking like he was the right choice at number 1. Next up, I have the Sixers.
Yeah.
B. Another MVP caliber season for Embiid, getting ruined by injuries. Same with the playoff run, getting ruined by injuries. Maxey has elevated his game to being an all-star, a perennial all-star, and he's an incredible piece. But overall, the squad around these guys is not that great. It's gonna help now that Tobias Harris is a free agent, and you could add some stuff with the cap space he's gonna bring. But overall, they made the playoffs. They were in a good series against the Knicks. It was a fun, entertaining series. But again, first rounded. Same story for the Sixers. Let's see how they improve next year. But B for a playoff team is fair for me.
Yeah, ultimately they were a play-in team, right? Otherwise, I could have argued A, especially when Embiid went out. That would have been it would have helped their case to be an A-tier team that way. But again, ultimately ended up being
the Utah Jazz are average, and they were in the C tier, and they're also a tier ahead of the Charlotte Hornets, who are in the D tier.
The next one, I really want to give them a C-tier team, but the Phoenix Suns will end up being B tier for me. They ended up getting the playoff spot altogether. Came down to the last day, but when you have Kevin Durant, you trade for Bradley Beal, you have Devin Booker, expectations aren't just make the playoffs and that's it. They got swept. So if you have an argument for C, I'm all ears for it. But I'm just saying B because I think our minimum was make the playoffs, but these guys had more than just make the playoff expectations.
Like for us, B tier is playoff teams essentially, if you were to like kind of categorize it. But these guys are so bad, right? That I do want to put them C. Another thing is that helps is that they did make the playoff, not a play-in, but it did come down to the last game as well.
Yeah.
So I would go for C now.
But then the argument for the Lakers.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
And at least they had a better. Again 4-1. I get it, but they performed better against the Nuggets did when the Suns did against the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I think we gotta stick with playoff teams or B, I guess. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, but it's a very comment down below what you guys think. But
they were shit.
They were not good.
They were definitely not good. Terrible. Kings C missed the playoffs. Did make the play-in. Did beat the Warriors, but
letdown from last year.
A letdown from last year, and another letdown because the Pelicans did not have Zion Williamson when the team that beat you to go to the 8th seed, and it was a disappointing performance in that game to be the 8th seed, and they had an opportunity to make the playoffs, and they could have made some noise against the Thunder, especially now because they had a year experience, right? They were a year ahead of the Thunder in terms of experience for being a young squad, but overall it was a massive fall off from the previous year when you were the 3 seed, and I think C is fair.
The Chicago Bulls for me are a C tier team. Obviously, the way they're ran, you want to put them in D tier team, but at the end of the day, they made the play-in. They won one game. I think they beat the Hawks. Then ultimately losing to the Miami Heat that was not without Jimmy Butler, right? I don't remember actually.
It was without.
Oh, okay. So that kind of makes it worse. I get it. They were without Zach LaVine as well, but The Chicago Bulls are a weird team to rank always, just because they're literally one of the definitions of middle of the pack.
They're playing. Yeah,
They're playing
middle.
expectations.
They're just average. C is average. So it's fair. Yes, the way they're run, they should be like F. But when we're looking at the result they put up this season, they were average.
Yeah.
The Blazers are rebuilding after trading Lillard in the last offseason and are in the F tier because they finished last place in the West. The Grizzlies are in the D tier. They finished 13th place in the West, and that is because their roster was filled with injuries.
Last and certainly not least, the New York Knicks. It depends on how you have had their expectations with this team. You could say S, you could say A. I'm going to say A. They ended up being the second seed when that should have been easily the Bucks. Jalen Brunson was, I had him on my, if I had a vote, I would have given him maybe a third, fourth place vote for MVP even consideration.
Yeah.
Fourth, I would say fourth or fifth, because the top three were fair, top three, right? He took a jump, like he wasn't supposed to be this type of player when he came into the league, right? Second round pick and everything. The Knicks overall made a great move by adding OG Anunoby. Yes, you did lose a scorer in Emmanuel Quickley and obviously RJ Barrett, but even then, like defensively, they were great.
The roster fit just felt nice with OG Anunoby.
It's just injuries hampered them a lot in the playoff run. Like they could have, if they were healthy, right, especially Julius Randle, could have given the Celtics a run for their money a little bit. I'm not saying the Celtics should have lost that series, but definitely could have made it tough on them. It could have went all 7 for all we know, but yeah, I think like expectation-wise, I had them as a playoff spot, I believe.
Yeah, I had the Knicks make the playoffs as well. They were a good squad. Brunson has taken a step into being a superstar potentially, and overall their squad around him fits really well. The Thibodeau system, in terms of playing basketball, works. The Thibodeau system in terms of minutes doesn't really, but it's playoffs. You gotta put your best players out there, and it sucks that they got injured, because I think the Knicks would have had a better chance than the Pacers at beating the Celtics. Comment down below any changes you would make to their tier list, and check out these 2 videos popping up on screen, and smash the subscribe button. Peace.